Our world continues to change and push us in ways we have not been challenged before. On this show, we talk about these challenges, how to be aware of them, face them, and overcome them in your life. This is David Waldas, creator of the Aligned Living System.
And I'm Nick Musica, Aligned Living Coach. Welcome to the Aligned Living System podcast.
Welcome to another episode of the Aligned Living System podcast. This is David Waldas here with Nick Musica. Welcome, Nick.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. So today's topic is the Aligned Living Coach Training Academy, which we're going to be kicking off in about 3 weeks, the very beginning of November. So we're setting the exact date as we dial in the exact participants that are going to be in the coach training. But we wanted to talk a little bit about how it came about and how it turned into actually a 6-month program. I've trained close to 20 coaches now. And it started out where I was training people as kind of an invitation only. Like I didn't really talk about the fact that I trained Aligned Living coaches. It was something that I would just bring up and go, hey, it's a client that I've been working with for a while. Like there's a lot of potential here. Is this something you're interested in, Nick?
That's what happened to me. Yeah.
Exactly. Right. And that's how you became a coach. And as the program grew, it went from a 6-week program to a 10-week program to a 12-week program. And it became really established, like the idea of what we do in it. At first, there was so much kind of intuitive guidance needed to take somebody through it. And it's still part of it. But now there's a system that's so clearly this step builds off this step, off this step, off this step, and this tool builds off this tool and integrates with this tool and creates this, that it became much more systemized, which means it became much more readily available to anybody that's interested in teaching this, and the access to the energetics that people learn to do became so accessible to. People are always shocked. Like, I didn't think I could do that. Like, yeah, it's that simple.
Yeah.
And that's always when people are thinking about coach, that's always the same. Like, I don't think I can do it. I'm like, try this. They're like, oh, that works. I'm like, yeah, so you can do it. Like,
Yeah.
oh, okay.
Man, I was even further to the left. I was like, that's not even a thing.
And now I'm doing it. How'd that happen?
I don't know.
Exactly, right? And so there's been this huge evolution, all these new tools. And we talked last week about the latest tool of that self-love activation, which has been so profound. It's been something I've just been living in now. It's just brought a lot more of my awareness from the back of the brain, just down into the heart. And it's really cool what that's creating, which we'll talk more about another time. But since we're preparing for the coach training, the first cohort of the academy to start, I just wanted to spend some time talking about that today.
I like the word academy. That's fun.
Yeah. Doesn't that feel good? And cohort, like it feels like that collective, and if you've ever been in a really good cohort, like we talked about the cohorts we were in with Bo Easton's group, the idea of like what happens when you bring a group of people together, they're taking the same journey.
So true.
It's so powerful. And so super excited about that. And for it to be, I was teaching this as about a 3.5-month container before. And we've decided to make it a full 6-month container. And I'm so excited about that too. It's so fun how this has evolved over the years of teaching it, which of course that is the point of it, right? Fine tuning it and making it. We've gotten all these new tools, and this idea of basically doubling the length of the training. The second part of the training is really the application of it. And of course, we train with each other and we practice, with other people in the cohort with all the tools and the energetics and all that. But the last 12 weeks of the program is actually us taking either another person or a small group through the whole 12-week program. And when we do that, I realize that as much as we've trained, that once you start to go through that program, it's a lot. It's kind of overwhelming. And the idea of like, oh, okay, I know what we do in week 1 and I know how to teach it, but then I started thinking about week 2 and week 3 and the process and taking people through this journey, that it becomes a lot to do once we've already graduated from the program. And so we integrated it right in. And it's funny, when I had taken Vivara, my girlfriend, through it, she was, after she completed her certification, she started teaching it. And so each week we would meet before she would teach it, and she would take, her people through it. And then we'd debrief afterwards and go through, what flowed, you know, what felt kind of weird, what was a sticking point. And then the next week before she'd teach it again, we'd go through it again. And I was like, gosh, this shouldn't just be for my girlfriend. This should be for anybody
Well,
going through the program, right? And so I'm like, this is just a no-brainer to add it in because it just brings so much more depth, so much more kind of confidence to teach it,
yeah.
and so much more effectiveness. And then we're really just focusing on 1 week at a time and the integration of that week and the integration of what we've done. And it just simplifies it, makes it so much easier as a coach to go from a coach in training to somebody who really feels mastery in it. And so, yeah, it's really excited about these additions. So welcome, Nick. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty good. I feel like I'm listening a lot. Like I'm part of the audience today and taking all this in because I mean we've talked about this more than once, but
Yeah.
the word academy honestly got me a little excited. Like that's such a great word,
Isn't
and
it?
it's
It's funny. When I first showed up, I felt the same way. I'm like, oh, this feels big. Like this
yeah,
feels like we can actually build an army of people that are going to take this work out and magnify it and create exponential impact
yeah,
uh,
yeah. It's cool,
and populate people's lives.
super cool work. I mean, I went from, and I still call crystals rocks. It's just my
Mhm.
term of endearment for them. But this whole like, it's just not it was nice to read about. It was a there were nice ideas, right? And then when you
Yeah.
and I met, we were doing individual coaching, and you were coaching me, and then you brought up the training, and I was just like, "It's not relevant." And then it
Why
got
is
to
this
be
happening with me? Yeah.
yeah, and then it got to be interesting to just hear more about, and then it was interesting to consider, and then the decision was made before I even knew I made the decision. That's
Mhm,
sort
mhm.
of the words were coming out before I even really thought like, "Oh, I want to do this."
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
It was cool.
Yeah, it's interesting too, and, I think that for a lot of people that have gone through the training, that was their initial like, "Well, I'm doing this other thing," or,
Mm,
like, I don't how can I cope? I don't even experience energy the way we do, I don't and so it's interesting, I've probably trained a little over 20 coaches now, I think, and maybe 10 to 15% of them are actually coaching, and so it does some other things. One is that it integrates into our life at a deeper level.
yeah,
And then we actually find ourselves utilizing the tools in every area of life, and we often are teaching them even though we don't realize we're teaching them.
yeah,
And really the most important part of it though is that when we are practicing aligned living, right? We're going, okay, there's a threshold, here's my alignment, fence line, all those things. And we're kind of just keeping ourselves in it. And the moment that we see ourselves as a teacher, as an instructor, as a coach, and it's so fun to watch this realization happen with people in the program because they're just like, oh, like, I just particularly when we get a download of the original Line Living system, like, there's an energetic download that happens where it just ends up in your field, and it just at a cellular level. Something happens with people where all of a sudden, they're not trying to hold their alignment anymore, that their alignment is a prerequisite to engaging with the world because now they're a teacher or a coach or an instructor, a guide, a leader, as opposed to somebody trying to manage their own shit. And the moment we go from managing our own shit to leading, I think that's the key to everything in life. It's funny. I was just thinking about Bo again in the speaker training. Like that's something he really emphasizes is when people get up and start talking, they're trying to manage themselves, their own anxiety, how they appear, how they look, how they sound. And everything he teaches is about take care of your audience.
yeah,
When you're there to take care of your audience, you forget about yourself and all that stuff goes out the window because you're just delivering and you're delivering to them, not to yourself. And the coaching's just the same way. The moment that we're focusing on the effect we're having on the people around us and the positive impact, our alignment's a prerequisite and we forget about ourselves doing it. And we just start feeling really good and we start feeling really clear.
yeah.
And so, like, it's funny to me, like, when I look at the people that have gone through the coach training that are not coaching, like, it feels like it's just as important for them as it is for anybody that's actually out there teaching it in the world because now they're not managing themselves. They're actually going through and having an impact
Yeah.
on the people around them.
Yeah, I mean, for me, that's I mean, I was paying attention to what you were saying at first. For some people like this, and then for other people like that, and that was pretty much my path. Which like it
Mhm,
was,
mhm.
and again, I went from this is not a real thing, it's concepts to holy crap, is this a real
Holy
thing?
shit.
What
That's
just
weird that
happened?
maybe tell me all this big shit.
Right. And that was my limiting belief, that really my limiting experience, really,
Yeah, yeah,
is what it was.
yeah, and I always say that, like, people that are super skeptical, like, if it's not in their reality, I actually have great respect for that. Like, if they go, "Oh, I just wanna believe this because I wanna believe in more magical things, I want life to be more
Mm-mm.
magical than it is," like, well, that's not a good reason to believe. Start having some experiences and then
Yeah.
believe it.
Yeah.
You
Yeah. And
know, you don't need to shut it down and say that it can't be true, but I'm like, "It's not my truth," and that's how I always was too, is like, "I don't know what this bullshit is people are talking about."
yeah. 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 And there was a, speaking of bullshit, right? So, which was my perspective on the whole category, shall we say, the whole thing. And then
How
there
do we
was,
become friends? So what
yeah, yeah. And then there was one day I was sitting with Jeff Sauls, who's no longer on the planet. And I
Mhm,
was talking about, my feelings of a certain town in the area. And I was like, gosh, just seems like complete fake bullshit, Jeff. And he paused for a moment, he gives it some thought, and he goes, well, if there's a fake version of a thing, don't you think there's got to be a real version of the thing?
mhm.
And I was like, God, that was very inconvenient for me to hear. That was very
Yeah,
inconvenient. But that was one of the things, like there was a few conversations that led me down the path to where we are. And certainly the first conversation I had with you was one of those. It was inconvenient, and
yeah. Yeah, you're disrupting a lot of the things that I've just accepted as staple truths that have
things were
allowed me to navigate this.
fine. It was fine, and then it just wasn't fine.
Don't break my shit. Yeah.
And it was wonderful. I mean, the training showed up in my daily world at some point, and it was how I
Mhm,
interact with the world. And then it became here and there teaching,
mhm, mhm.
and then it just became like part of the operating system. At some point, it just becomes part of the operating system. I didn't even know when it happened. It just sort of happened.
Yeah.
And then I started working with folks specifically with their intuition, and I brought some of the things from my own experiences in because that made sense. And there's some very still, this is aligned living teachings that are in
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Um, and then recently showing up, taking another coaching program, they're talking about
Mhm.
somatics, and I was like, wait a minute, there's something here that's really familiar, and I don't know what the overlap is. I still don't fully understand it, but
Right.
I
You
could tell
integrate.
you. Oh yeah. I could tell you that walking into those conversations with this background, I'm
Mhm.
like, this is easy for me. This is
Yeah. Yeah.
so easy. Yeah.
Yeah, and I love that about the line living work, is that whenever you're doing other authentic work, that it integrates. And it's always so funny to me, it's like kind of a real litmus of like, is this just bullshit circular self-exploration without really making changes and kind of staying in the same paradigm, and then people just regurgitating back and forth to each other, the same idea that helps them stay stuck and, you
Yeah.
know, and we see that in every community, right? And so, of course, it happens in spiritual communities. Of course, it happens in plant medicine communities where
Yeah.
people are just stabilizing themselves in a limiting place and not using it to expand who they are, get deeper in touch with who they are, and really have an impact.
And the coaching communities too, man. I mean, I love the aligned living training. And when I was looking for another coaching
Mhm.
program to go through,
Yeah.
I didn't find a lot of things that showed up. I was just like, so not interesting. So
Yeah.
not interesting.
Absolutely.
I was like, do you want to be trained to go back into corporate America as a more proficient corporate American? No, no, that sounds terrible.
How to shut yourself down even more.
Right, 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 right. Uh, and yeah, to your point, like it's, at least for me, the pieces that have showed up are building blocks for the things that I like to put together. And I
Mhm.
think that's what a lot of this is we get to bring our special secret sauce,
Yeah, absolutely.
and the things we pick up along the way are very meaningful and very effective. And
Mhm.
one of the terms that Bo uses, oh God, what is it? Predictable,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Predictable outcomes.
Oh my goodness, right? And so like the coach, the storytelling, predictable, the aligned
Mhm.
living training, predictable in terms of the
Yeah.
outcome. Like it's, so for me, looking at things where there's a predictable outcome,
Mhm. Yeah.
very valuable for me. And that predictable outcome is tied to effective,
Yeah. Yeah.
or
And
else,
authenticity of the
yeah,
program, right?
or else we're just, like you said, we're just talking about the same things in different ways and staying in the same place. And that's not interesting.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I often hear from people like, I'm a massage therapist. How does this mix in? Or, I already coach, or I'm a counselor, or, I'm a doctor, or
Yeah,
whatever. And I'm like, if the work that you're doing is authentic, it integrates seamlessly.
totally.
If you're following some agenda or you're caught up in, something that's not really authentic, it's going to disrupt it.
Yes.
Right. And same thing with relationships, same thing with, whatever it is, wherever we're not authentic in our life, of course our alignment disrupts. And wherever we're authentic in our life, of course our alignment, congeals it. Like it holds it together. It becomes cohesiveness.
Yeah.
And so, when people are like, oh, I'm worried about it, breaking things down, like if it's authentic, like it makes it stronger. If it's not authentic, it rearranges it. Sometimes it's a 2-degree move to make it authentic, but we
Yeah.
have to be willing to let stuff move. And to me, so we got into this part of the conversation around people that are doing other things. If they're already coaching, or if they're some sort of a counselor or breath work, or whatever they do. As long as it's authentic, it integrates perfectly. And of course, this comes with a standalone 12-week program, but that can also be integrated into a bigger program. Like tools can be taken, like, and that's what I see a lot of the coaches I've trained do is, at least even the basic foundational parts of aligned living, just become part of a staple in their programs,
Yeah.
uh, for what they do. And then, it really depends on what they're doing and what makes sense to include. But
Yeah.
people can also teach it as a 12-week program inside of a bigger container,
Yeah.
or
I would,
as one of the offerings.
yeah. And I experienced both those aspects of it was disruptive.
Mhm.
And
Yeah, it disrupted my bullshit and solidified my truth.
that 100%. Yeah. Thank
Yeah,
you for that. Yeah. Yeah. It disrupted where I was and led me to this different place. And I wouldn't want it any other way.
yeah.
Um, and it is, I pick and choose the things that we've trained on
Mhm, mhm.
for the individual people that I'm working for, because
Yeah, having all those tools in the toolbox.
some things
Yeah,
are more relevant than others, right? You got
yeah,
to meet people where they are and offer them the thing that's
yeah.
going to get to
Especially
the
when we're
next
working with
place.
somebody that doesn't wanna go fully in, because
Totally.
when you go fully into that 12-week container, I mean, it's exactly what happens is anything that's authentic becomes so powerful, and
Yeah.
anything that's not becomes so disrupted.
Yeah. And I can appreciate both those perspectives. I was living in both those perspectives.
Yeah.
So for folks who need a little bit more because that's a lot, cool. And for
Mm.
folks who want a lot because I like a lot, that's also
Yeah,
there.
because 'cause I'm ready. I'm not interested in playing games anymore. I'm not
That's
interested
right.
in entertaining what's not really my truth anymore.
Yeah. 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 Yeah, so
Yeah, it's
there
super
are
exciting.
options. Yeah, there's options for folks who want to run fast or folks who want to run slow. But taking the training, like you get the
You
full
run
dose
fast.
of it. Yeah, you get the
Yeah.
full dose. It's awesome.
Yeah, the training is not for somebody that wants to run slow, right?
No.
And that is like you can see it in the people that run through it. Like, it's fun that we're talking about this way. I love how this conversation evolved today because that's exactly what happens. Is people who are like, where am I tricking myself? Where am I fooling myself? Where am I playing games with myself? All of a sudden, it just becomes very uninteresting to do that. And then, where am I really in alignment? What's really true about me and my life? All of a sudden, that just becomes, well, I don't see other option.
There's a big self-awareness piece and a big perspective shift that comes with this work. Yeah,
Yeah, it's really beautiful.
that
So
continues.
what then it
It
translates into
continues.
fulfillment. It translates into
Yeah,
a life that matches and aligns with you, and so that's ultimately what we all want, I think, right?
yeah,
And I think some people are afraid of growing pains, but what happens inside that container of alignment, because you're in a different state of consciousness, you don't really experience the growing pains in the same way. It feels like, "Oh, this is just right. This is the right timing. This is how this should go."
yeah,
That doesn't mean we don't have our human emotions, but it's very different than making a place from I'm stuck inside this, I'm unhappy, I don't have the energy to make the changes, I'm not sure what I would even do. It's just like, "Oh, I'm clear, and I have the energy because of my clarity." But if I was ambiguous and I was stuck and I didn't have a direction, I wouldn't have the energy because it would all just be draining out into the unknown, into the
yeah.
unclear.
Yeah, I mean, growing pains is an interesting way to phrase it, and you're right. Like the disruption feels like growing pains, and then it evolves from that because you see the real
Yeah.
value and you see the result of it. And any day of the week, that's way better than the staying pains.
Mhm, mhm.
This
Yeah.
feels really
Yeah, yeah,
comfortable. Things are cool right here. They're that's not the
yeah.
no.
Yeah,
We're meant to keep moving.
and I've said this so many times, it's funny, this is like a continuous channel I seem to get is because we're seeing the planet right now is we've lived in a world of continuous suffering, of sustainable suffering. We go, "Oh, I'm fine." Like, I'm fine means I'm dealing with some shit and it's sustainable for me. It's not so bad that I can't deal with it, but it drains me and I'm not living my best life, right? And so that's kind of how the planet's been. Like when we look at all these kind of, entrapping, enslaving energies and systems on the planet, we get stuck in them and we're like, well, we're okay, we're fine, but we don't have the strength to get out of them. But we also kind of have the I'm fine enough to tolerate them. And now what we're watching around the globe is for these sufferings to become unsustainable. And when the sufferings become unsustainable, we make change. We go, I'm all done. And I think a lot of us have had that experience where it's just weariness, like where we just get cumulative fatigue and then it becomes unsustainable. I could sustain dealing with this bullshit. And quite often when we look at jobs we left or relationships we've left or, where we've gone, like, I was just tolerant for so long that I finally just like I ran out of tolerance. It
Yeah.
became unsustainable to me. And, when we have that kind of clarity, we feel the unsustainableness because we actually feel the agency. And why does something become sustainable? Well, because we're okay enough and we don't have the traction or the agency or the vision to move forward in a different way. And so we just kind of keep doing the same thing. But when we get that clarity and we pull our energy back, so we actually have the energy to make change and to be that clear, and then we have the agency and the traction and the direction to do it, we go, that's not sustainable, not interested. I'm going to go create something that matches me.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
remarkable. And for most people that go through it, it doesn't like break their whole life down. We're talking
Mhm.
about stuff that's usually changes in communication, a 5% move. And of course, sometimes people leave their job, sometimes it disrupts a relationship, but most of the time it doesn't. Most of the time we just do it differently inside that container and it works out way better for us and for the people around us because we're not dimming ourselves trying to make it sustainable.
Right.
And we take that risk, so to speak, to move beyond safe and go, it's either going to be like this or I'm not interested.
Yeah.
It's either going to be at this level of match and resonance or I'm not interested.
Yeah. And what I just heard when you were talking was options that are not available to me today.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
You could stay in the same place doing the same thing, but in a different way, or you
Yeah.
can break out of that for whatever reason and do something else that you're called to do because that's a better option for you.
Yeah, and often it happens particularly with careers and phases where they're just like and I think you're a perfect example of this, right? Like, I gotta figure out my work, like, it's becoming unsustainable to me. Now that I have my alignment and I have this clarity, I can actually go back into that container and I can kinda have some fun with it now and just engage with it as a different game.
Yeah.
And that gave me time now to get really clear, and then when it was time for you to move on, you were able to move on because it wasn't like going from like, "Oh, I'm not sure what I'm gonna do," to, "I'm out." It
Yeah.
was like, "Oh, I'm really clear in this. I'm feeling more and more clear, and now I'm feeling more defined about what I want and who I am and where I wanna go with it, and now there's this perfect time for me to take this step out of this container into the right one." And so it wasn't the disruption of, "I'm clear, I gotta go." It was, "I'm clear, I can do this differently." And then now that I'm doing it differently, a year later, now I'm actually taking
Yeah.
the transition, and it's not this big abrupt, like, turmoil creating life change.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, there was a perspective shift and then the appropriate action came after that.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I remember you going into work, and I actually use this metaphor still a lot too, because when we talk about our own alignment, we go, "Oh, I'm trying to hold my space," and then everybody else, there's all this bait out there that people want to pull us into their energy and perspective. And you came in and you said, like I felt like, do you remember this? You said, I feel
Keep
like when
going.
I'm at work now, it's like we're all like our own planets, and everybody has their own gravitational pull, and everybody's trying to pull each other into the gravity of their planet, as opposed to us holding our own gravity. And
Mm,
now I walk through work and I realize if I just make my own gravity, hold my own gravity, myself as the sovereign planet, and don't get pulled into the gravitational field of everybody else's and their perspectives and what's wrong and all the stuff, like, I actually enjoy my job right now. And was that too big of a statement? I enjoy my job or my job becomes a lot better?
no, that was true. Yeah, and that was completely true. And it was also a stepping stone into other perspectives.
Yeah, absolutely. Which
Yeah,
opened up other possibilities, which opened up
totally.
moving beyond the idea of stable career into a dynamic career where you're doing multiple things and helping multiple people. And
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. And one of the words that's used in this other training that I'm doing right now is self-generative, which
Mhm.
you and I haven't used that word a lot, but it completely maps
Yeah,
to this work. Completely
absolutely.
maps to it. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Particularly the heart activation too now, like that self-love, like self-generative love. Like, wow. We're
Yeah.
starting at that point, you
Yeah.
know?
Which then
When
helps you
we
change
don't give ourselves a way
perspectives.
to receive something we can generate ourselves, yet we crave it because when we share it and other people share it with us,
Yeah.
it becomes exponential.
Yeah.
But if we needed to give ourselves away in order to get it in the first place, well, now we're in
Mm.
trouble.
Yeah. Yeah.
Alignment will not be an option.
Yeah. So various versions of what you're self-generating
Yeah.
are available because of this work. 100%.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, beautiful. And so the coach training is going to start in like 3 weeks. And so as you're listening to us, if you're thinking, gosh, you know what? Like this other piece too, is this actually, we're going to go through the whole 12-week program at the beginning. So if you took this training a while ago, or if you've never done the Aligned Living training, there is no prerequisite to join the coach training. It's about alignment and clarity and going, I want to go after this because all the tools and the experiences are all baked into the 6 months.
Mhm.
And so if you're thinking, going, gosh, this is interesting to me, go ahead and you'll be a link in here to a page that will give you a breakdown on the application to join us for the coach training and all the breakdown of all the information and logistics for it. And so it'll be online and we're meeting once a week for 2 hours. It's just so fun to take people on this journey. And I would say I actually enjoy the coach training the most out of all the things that I
Mm.
lead and teach because we see the biggest transformation.
Mm.
Because people move from seeing themselves as a student or somebody who's practicing into somebody who's leading, which should be all of our perspectives because we're always leading. Like there's nothing we're doing where what we do doesn't matter to the people around us and doesn't affect them like it does. And so when we recognize that and live that prerequisite of alignment becomes so ingrained in us and it changes everything. And so whether people end up coaching with it or they end up living from that place of I lead and
It's
I'm
true.
focused on my own gravitational pull, not everybody else's. It's just such a remarkable journey. And so seeing that level of transformation, I think it's the highest level out of anything that I teach. Even the one-to-ones, like it does something different. And as powerful as one-to-ones are, the coach training just repositions us in our lives, and it's fantastic. And so, love to hear from you if you're interested, and fill out the application that you'll see the link to, and we'll be in touch. Because yeah, I'm so excited to be bringing this academy
Hmm.
out to the world in the first full cohort, and opening up the coach training from hand selected to people that are the right fit that are just out there. Beautiful. Great
Super.
conversation, Nick.
Hmm.
Absolutely. All right. Well, thanks so much for listening and looking forward to talking to you all next week. Have a great week. We hope you enjoyed listening to today's podcast. And if you did, please subscribe so you can catch the next episode. If you want to learn more about the Aligned Living System and how it could support you in your life, check out davidwaldas.com.